stay away from the statements of men, individuals. If this person is a mujtahid alim and he's based his view on a ayah, he understood it in that way, that's a ra'i which is mahmud, praiseworthy. We'll take it, we'll respect it. Like the ara and the opinions of Abu Hanifa in fiqh, and Imam Malik and Shafi and Ahmed rahimahumullah, may Allah be pleased with them. We respect that, we'll take that. And Sufyan and Layth and all of the fuqaha, sah? We'll take their opinions. Because what they're getting it from is where? Ijtihad from the Quran and the Sunnah. Like if they did a ijtihad in a matter and there's a clear-cut evidence there, which one are we going to prioritize? Subki. He has a kitab called قول المطلبي إذا صح الحديث فهو مذهبي. In there he mentions, wallah, a very profound statement. He says that a person, when somebody comes up to you, says to you, Allah, he said this, or the messenger said this. He said, how can you say Shafi'i said when Nabiullah Muhammad is the one talking here? He said, you have to, it's a very profound statement. He said, you have to think that Nabiullah Muhammad is right in front of you. And he's talking to you. And he's saying to you something. Would you say to the Prophet, but Shafi'i said? Yeah. Would you say that? It's the same way when the hadith is narrated to you and is told to you, and the hadith is sarihun, sahihun, and the way that the ruling is being taken is clear to you, you say, Fulan and Allan said. So the whole book is about what? قول المطلبي, Muttalibi here is Shafi'i. إذا صح الحديث فهو مذهبي. If a hadith is sahih, is my madhab. Imam Shafi'i is saying this. So leave off people's opinions. Because wallahi, for you to do a mistake in leaving off the statement of Imam Shafi'i is less painful, less sin than if you reject the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. That makes sense? Rasulullah statements are, it's hujjah and a proof against us. Like in the Imams are not a proof against us, their statements. Does that make sense? And this issue, there is two extremes here. There is an extreme which is the kalam of the ulama are not a proof whatsoever. I don't care. I'm just going to read the Quran and the Sunnah by myself. And then what is he doing? Coming up with weird views and opinions. And he said to Shafi'i doesn't have evidence in this mas'ala. And Shafi'i does have evidence in this mas'ala. It has a dalil. And he's responded to the dalil that you brought. But you don't know that. So you keep thinking he doesn't have an evidence. There's an extreme side. Yes, I agree. Who think the Imams are just talking from their own whims and desires, like Imam Abu Hanifa got this from the Torah or the Injil. He didn't. Where did he get this from? Quran and the Sunnah. But there's another extreme on the other side, which is what? Everything that the Imam says is from the Quran and the Sunnah. That's not true. It's not true. There are times they didn't have the evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah, and they didn't see the evidence. So what did they do? They did what was allowed for them, which is ijtihad. They did ijtihad and they're allowed to do it. And so they gave their ijtihad. Had they seen this evidence, they would have left this ijtihad and they would have taken the evidence. I saw the evidence now. Am I going to say Abu Hanifa or Malik or Shafi and Ahmed? Maybe they have the evidence, I don't know. Maybe they saw this evidence. Well, no, I've got the dalil in front of me, I'll take this. And I have no response from this Imam regarding this particular issue. I am a slave to Allah and His Messenger. I am a slave to Allah and I am commanded to follow what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. So I'm going to follow the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Does that make sense, brothers? So there's extreme both sides. When you see Imam Malik, Shafi'i and Ahmed and Abu Hanifa, the way that they take rulings out of the Quran and the Sunnah is sometimes from one dalil, and sometimes they base their final conclusion on multiple evidences. So you might look at one evidence and say Abu Hanifa or Malik or Shafi or Ahmed, this hadith is not evidence for them. But you didn't know that the final conclusion came from 5 evidences they put together. They got a ruling from it. We're all together, brothers. But you haven't got that vast knowledge to see what is their evidence and how did they come to it. So you're looking at one evidence and say this is weak. They're weak in this evidence that they brought. So you're weakening his opinion just on one evidence of his that you saw. What about the other evidence he used? What about the other evidence that you used? He brought all of these together and then he made a final ruling with it. Does that make sense? Same with Malik, same with Ahmed, same with Shafi'i. So it's really hard. It's really hard for you to say that they didn't see this evidence. But there is times that they didn't see the evidence. And those who are fanatic will say to you, who are you compared to Abu Hanifa? But the same question can be said, who is the Imam compared to Ibn Abbas? Ibn Abbas said this. Make sense? That door, if we open it, we can keep going back, up, up, up. It doesn't work like that. What is that I have a dalil here. What's the response of the Imam on this evidence? His understanding is prioritized before me and everybody